Today we celebrate the feast day of Saint Maria Goretti, a more recent saint in the church and one who has a lot to offer us in her witness of martyrdom. And every time that we celebrate a saint's day, I think it's always good, for me at least, to remember why we celebrate saints. Why do we reflect on the lives of the saints, and why do we have their feast days spread throughout the course of the year? Well, there are a couple of things about saints that are helpful for us. One is that they are a witness to a holy life. When we meditate on the lives of the saints, when we read about them, we see someone who's lived a human life with extraordinary holiness. And the beautiful thing about the saints is that there are so many different ways that we can see holiness lived out in this world. And they show us what our calling is. They show us that we are all called to be saints. We are all called to live this extraordinary holiness in our lives. And they show us that it's possible, that it's not something that is too far for us, something that we can't reach, some height of heaven that we'll never get to. They show that it's possible to live holiness here and now. Saint Maria Goretti was only 12 years old when she was martyred. She was martyred when a stranger came into her house and wanted to defile her, wanted to rape her, and she preferred, or she elected rather, to being stabbed to death rather than to give up the glory of her virginity. She had gone through a life of very difficult circumstances up to that point, and now was willing to give up her life for Christ in this way, to be a martyr. And for us, it can be difficult to think that we can live up to this sort of holiness in life, that we can live up to the calling that Jesus has called us to, as he calls his disciples today to go out, to preach the good news, to heal people, to drive out demons, to do all of these things that seem probably far beyond us if we are honest with ourselves. But when we look at the saints, we see that holiness of life comes in simply living a life that is dedicated to Christ. Just like Saint Maria Goretti, she was only 12 years old when she died. And her holiness, her extraordinary holiness, didn't come out of nowhere. It was because she was united to Christ in life. And at the homily for her canonization mass, Pope Pius XII said that we are all called to something like this. He said, "Not all of us are expected to die a martyr's death, but we are all called to the pursuit of Christian virtue. And a constant, persistent, and relentless effort is asked of us right up to the moment of our death. This may be thought of as a slow, steady martyrdom," meaning that we are asked to continually be dedicated to this holiness of life. And sometimes that means that we have to deny ourselves, or we have to deny the spirit of the world to follow Christ. And that in itself is a sort of martyrdom for us. Let's ask the Lord today for courage and strength to live out that life of virtue to which we're called, to be the saints who we are called to be. There is no other calling that can be greater for our lives, but it is all possible through the grace and mercy of Jesus Christ.